Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back. I just got back from a trip to New York over my son's spring break and decided to revisit my Tholrosat fortress, which you'll remember I lost. I suffered a really embarrassing defeat, and instead of cheating like I would probably normally do and just reloading a previous save, I decided to go ahead and let my fortress fail so that I could then have the experience of going back in with a new group of 7 to try to retake it. And I've honestly never done this before. I just never cared enough to find out what it was like. So I've got my coffee in hand. I'm all set up with my pink hair. I would be curious to see if I get more views in this video looking like this. So that'll be an interesting piece of data to collect. And what I have here is my previous world Mudangsha, however you'd pronounce that, with my one fortress that I've lost. And I'm going to go in and find out what this looks like to actually try to reclaim. So come along with me on this journey. Let's see how it goes. It should be fun. And along the way, I've got plenty of things to chat about. And I've also got a lot of thoughts about my other save files that I have going concurrently. Okay, so I'm choosing my origin sieve, which I think is necessary to do even when I'm reclaiming. And I'm going to go ahead and just choose the dwarven sieve that has the highest population and is the most successful. And then this time, I guess I have to go and click reclaim. Tholrosat is in ruin. So let's see. All right, so I have to prepare for my journey. I'm going to try to do this fairly quickly, I think. The one thing that is on my mind right now is that I don't want to waste any points on unnecessary supplies that might already still be in the fortress. I'm not totally clear on which things will not be destroyed from the previous playthrough. I believe that food and drink are still there. I'm trying to think what makes the most sense here, because I really do want to prioritize weapons and weapons training. So let me quickly go through and think about how this is going to be different from a normal run. Good spatial but weak. I'm thinking in terms of soldiers here. Frail, that's... How can you be strong and frail? Okay. Strong but recovers slowly. That's... None of these are great, but whatever. Resilient and strong. Okay. You know what? I'm going to make you the new military commander. And let's go ahead and make you a spear dwarf. Spear dwarf, armor user, tactician. Leader. I wonder, do I actually care about any other skills? I'll give him a point of dodge, another point of armor, and And okay, so this is Reg. That's his name for now, unless I decide to change it, which maybe I will. We'll see. I think I'll give him an iron spear. And I need to make sure that I at least have some basic armor for him. I'm not sure if I can afford... I'm not sure actually if I can afford to get too much iron. Okay, let's see how that goes. And then, so we need to make sure that 4 people are proficient with axes. And that can be Mebzuth here. What if we give everybody a point of armor and a point of dodge? And that gives us 6 points left over. I think I'm okay with that. Just to be sure, maybe we want competent axe dwarf, and then that gives everybody 5 points left over for ordinary skills. Again, this isn't probably the way that I would normally set up an embark, but whatever, let's give this a try. Good spatial sense. Okay. Again, good spatial sense. Okay. Armor, dodger. And then between the two, brawler. Why not? Okay. And then of the 2 dwarves here that are not going to be fighting with axes, I want to make sure that they get some mining skills, although I don't think it's super crucial. And between these 2 people, I also want to make sure that I have a manager and a bookkeeper. So we'll go ahead and make this the bookkeeper. I hope that this ends up working, but we'll see. Okay, we have a record keeper now. Who can read and write, and who is in fact also a cook. And then for the manager, that's Deller up here at the top. Let's make sure that Deller has organizer skills as well as, let's go with brewer skills. And let's go with gem cutting. And then of these 4, let me think. We have a need for an appraiser. We have a need for a mechanic / diagnostician. And then between the other two, I want to make sure that I have a stoneworker. And then I'm going to want to have an armor smith and blacksmith. I think we'll have 3 points into weapons and 2 into armor. Okay, so it gives my settlement the same name. Okay, so then I might go ahead and choose a new group name. I'm not super concerned about what that might be. Nothing about rebirth or resurrection here. No. The new birth and a goblin. Let's go with 2 dwarves. Mutilated or flayed? Or tortured. The goblin is dead. And being mutilated. There we go. Okay. And then for the name, how about the the cave dweller of malice. We are not vengeful at all over here, okay? So without putting too much thought into this, I hope that this winds up being okay. I can see that I can have a pair of dogs. So I'm going to go ahead and do so. And let's embark and let's find out what actually happens when we try to take over a fortress that has gone to ruin. I'm not seeing anything new in the embarkation notice here, this little pop-up. I see a ghost. So all my deceased are still showing up in the list. I can still see a bunch of deceased goblins. Are you telling me that there is in fact going to be no fight? Maybe. Yep. Here we go. Let's see what happens. An ambush. Okay, so we have what? We have what? We've seen some dead bodies. Are we freaking out about them? We'll go ahead and create a new squad. Oh, let's see, we can call them the bloody company. Okay, works for me. Put everybody in it. And where's the ambush? I see troglodytes. Okay. I'm just checking to see what on earth is happening here. Is this actually going to be relatively uneventful? Okay. My militia commander is already possessed and throwing a tantrum, as you do. We have a helmet snake fighting. Oh, right, that was one of mine. See what happens now. Is this a giant bat that is hostile? I believe so. This was a former pet. More ambushing. But it appears to be troglodytes only. And another bat. Aw. Okay, so this is a good learning opportunity for me. I'm looking around here and noticing that all the items in what used to be stockpiles are all locked. they're all forbidden. And there's no trace of the actual stockpiles that were. Now, out of curiosity, aha, I can see that rooms and zones are still set and still named as I had them, but the actual stockpiles themselves, it looks like will need to be re-designated, which is fine. And I don't know if I'm going to have to manually then go through and set the forbidden status of all these objects. We're going to call this a level 6 stockpile. Oh, Deller, what the heck, man? My manager too. Oh, I wonder. So let's go through and allow all these items. Again, I'm not sure if this is something that I needed to do manually. Or if this is something that would sort itself out after the combat finishes. But I don't want to take any chances. I want to make sure that my dwarves all have access to this phenomenal steel stuff that I left the last time I was here. And again, I did not know what to expect coming in to Tholrosat today, because this is, again, my very first time trying to reclaim a fortress after losing a fight. You know what? I don't think I need to worry about all of this just yet. Because I know that most of that clothing is looted from goblins anyway, and it's not sized for my dwarves to begin with. Eh. And yeah, maybe this is the sort of thing that I should do off camera. But at least this is something interesting to me, because like I said, this is a new experience for me. And as long as I'm making these videos, I figure that I might as well devote this time to learning all of the ins and outs of Dwarf Fortress that I was not already very familiar with. Let's see here. Goodness. Is there a way to select everything? Those silver maces, I think, will come in handy. Yeah, so I think I'm off to a good start here. I'm probably going to come back in and check the status of all these items later on. But for right now, I am going to redesignate stockpiles and then just kind of go through and figure out what other tasks need to be done in this situation. I will need to reconfigure work orders, for example. Set new tavern keepers and things like that. And then if I can get this fortress back under control without too many issues, then my next area of focus is going to be going back down to the level where I was clearing the way to mine some adamantine. Okay, that should at least get me started. I'll do one more. Okay, so it looks to be mostly wildlife. Helmet snakes. I'm not totally clear on how this is going to go. Yeah, again, lots of troglodytes, lots of helmet snakes. Only the one death so far. 2. Make that 2 deaths. Well, this is kind of depressing. I think I'm halfway tempted to go ahead and save and quit and maybe go into one of the other save files. Maybe do some of this work off camera and then come back to it. So I decided to pause the game and actually come back to the Dwarf Fortress wiki to see if what is listed on here is lining up with what I saw today in the fortress. And yeah, this may not be fully up to date, but it's saying here that when you reclaim a fortress, every item that was present is set to forbidden, which we saw. There may be ghosts, which we had at least one. Food and alcohol are in fact gone, although prepared meals are still edible, although they do have to be allowed. Let's see, enemies. We saw that there really were no goblins left, or at least it appeared that way. Although all of my pet helmet snakes and I think that the giant bats might have been my pets. Actually, I don't remember now. There were a lot of hostiles on the screen, lots of creatures, plenty of troglodytes, and an awful lot of helmet snakes that I had to then fight. And what else does it mention here? Yep, that stockpiles do no longer exist. Workshop profiles will persist over into the next playthrough. Okay, that's interesting. So this was definitely useful for me to have done once. The question that I'm now left with, though, is whether this was worth it, because I had about 7 dwarves left when I decided to abandon the fortress. Came back in with a new 7. I'm now down to 5. And I'm still going through and clearing out helmet snakes and other creatures that are hostile. And so by the time I've finished with all of that, I'm left with certainly a large stockpile of silver maces and steel breastplates and spears and things like that I had before that are certainly not worthless. But then I've got to go through the trouble of rebuilding my population. So in a situation like this, I think that there's some limited usefulness to reclaiming a fortress, but I think that I personally wouldn't do this again unless I really were attached to a fortress or a storyline. And let's say that there was some kind of catastrophic failure. And even then, I'm not sure that I wouldn't just go ahead and reload a save. So I think at this point, I'm probably going to just go ahead and let Tholrosat die and continue working on Gegatubble. That's the Violet Vault. And maybe I will start up another save as well. So again, hopefully this was of some use to you. It was certainly interesting to me. But again, I don't know that this is something that I would like to do, on a recurring basis. All right, have a great day, and I'll see you next time.